Now, it probably doesn't come as much of a surprise, learning to fly isn't the cheapest hobby to get into. Around the world, you've got the light sport category of aircraft, which is meant to be the most affordable bracket of powered flight to get into. Here in Australia, we've got the RPC offered by RA-Aus. Just how affordable is it? Well, I spent pretty much all of 2023 from April through to December doing my RPC along with my navigation and passenger endorsements. So in this video, I'm going to break down for you all the costs that I went through, both the expected and unexpected items, give you the most accurate representation of what it costs to get your RPC in Australia today. First up is memberships. In order to be flying on an RPC, you'll need an active membership with RA-Aus. Now, RA-Aus offers a 3-month free membership to new pilots who are just getting started. This is great for people who are dipping their toes in the water and they're not sure if they're going to continue with this journey or not. But if you're anything like me, you're going to get hooked pretty fast. Then you're going to be up for $325 for an annual membership. Now this comes with a whole bunch of perks, one of which is a free subscription to the Sport Pilot magazine, 3 of those per year. Now, I'll admit, I haven't bought a magazine in the last 10 or 15 years, but I quite enjoy looking forward to that turning up in my mailbox. Next up are the resources you'll need. Now, you don't need to get all these resources straight away. Some things you'll want to get sooner rather than later though. I recommend getting straight away a textbook up front so you can brush up on all your aviation theory. Me, I went with the Jim Davis PPL book. You'll also want to get a logbook so you can start logging all of your flight hours, any certifications or exams that you do along the way, and make sure that's properly documented. As you get towards doing your navigation endorsement, there's an extra couple of resources you'll need to better navigate the airspace around you. Usual items in that kit are going to be a scale ruler, protractor, an E6B flight computer. You'll probably want a kneeboard to keep all your resources together. You'll also need the flight charts for the relevant areas that you're flying in. For me, that was a VNC and WAC chart, and unfortunately I had to replace my charts not once, but twice, because I didn't know how to fold them properly, drew on them a little bit too hard, and then tore them in flight as I was trying to unfold them. So I recommend, if you've got the opportunity, get your flight charts laminated up front. You can draw on them with a Sharpie and wipe them off with an isopropyl alcohol spray. Overall, the process is so much simpler and they'll probably last you a lifetime. An additional expense that you don't have to get, but I do recommend if you've got the opportunity, is invest in your own headset. For me, the peace of mind of going into every flight knowing that the earpieces had good seal on them, the microphone was in one piece and had good batteries that were fully charged before each flight was well worth its weight in gold. And so I managed to dodge all the scammers off Facebook Marketplace and found a secondhand set of Bose A20s. That sent me back about $1,000, but these things are in really good nick and they're going to last for years and years to come. The other optional resource that I also recommend is investing in an EFB. For me, I went with Oz Runways. I've gone on the premium VFR subscriptions, so that's setting me back $199 a year. Now, all of your navigation flight training is going to be paper-based, but having all of the capabilities, the tools, the knowledge, and the backup security of an EFB in your pocket or on your iPad is absolutely worth its weight in gold, and I would start learning that process now, as well as learning how to do all the navigation on paper. So all in all, for a combination of memberships and resources, I've spent a total of $1,904. But clearly, if you don't get your own headset, you can save a pretty decent chunk of change there. Next up is all the exams. Now, in order to complete your RPC, there's a number of key exams that you need to pass along the way. For me, I sat the pre-solo, the radio, air legislation, got the human factors exam, and then the big one, which is the BAK, the basic aeronautical knowledge. Then later on, as you get towards your navigation, there's a separate navigation exam as well. The flight school that I went through had a fixed rate of $75 per exam, so assuming that you passed each one of those, that came to a total of $450 all up. Next up is the fun stuff, the actual cost of flying. Now, each flight school is probably going to have slightly different rates depending on the type of aircraft that they've got available. For me, the flight school I went through had a fleet of 3 Tecnam P92 Eaglets. These were hired out at a solo rate of $220 per hour. That was a wet rate, including all fuel and landing fees. But a bulk of your training, and until you're signed off on your RPC, is going to be charged out at the dual rate, including an instructor. For me, that was $295 an hour. So an extra $75 an hour for the instructor to tag along. Now, in order to get your base RPC, you need a minimum of 25 hours of flying time. That's 20 hours of dual training and 5 hours of solo pilot and command time. Now for me, I managed to knock this out in 25.5 hours. So that came to a grand total of $7,522.50 just to get the base level RPC. But of course, I wasn't stopping there. I was going on and doing my nav training as well. After all, what's the point of being able to fly a plane if you can't explore further areas than just your local airport? The nav training component needs another 10 additional hours of navigation training where you do a whole range of cross-country activities. For me, this took a little bit longer, and I racked up 15.2 hours to a grand total cost of $4,484 on top. Now, every time that you take a check ride for either your base RPC, your nav, or passenger endorsement, there are some additional processing fees that you need to take care of for RA-Aus to issue the certificates. The base RPC certificate, that's an additional $54. And then for each endorsement, so for your nav and your passenger endorsement, that's another $25 each. So that brings the grand total of flying cost to $12,110.50. And the grand total for all resources, all materials, all exams, all flight time to $14,464.50. Now, that breaks down to an average of about $1,800 a month, or $450 a week. Now, you got to understand, that's an average figure. Some weeks are going to be cheaper, some weeks are going to be much more expensive, especially when you get towards the navigation part of your flight training, where your flight training time is going from 45-minute to an hour-long lesson up to a 3-hour-long navigation exercise. That is going to cost a significant chunk of change. What worked really well for me is consistency. For me, I found the best skill retention I had was when I was out flying pretty much every week, if not sometimes twice a week. So it's important to have a good cash reserve behind you, knowing that it's going to get depleted at some stage, but you're also going to have some wet and rainy weeks where you simply can't go flying and you can accumulate that cash back up. So there you have it, about 14 grand in total. Is that really affordable to get into aviation? Well, that's not up to me to decide. It's going to be up to you what your circumstances and your situation is. The way I look at it, what else could you do with 14 grand? I mean, you could go out and buy a camper trailer and drive all around Australia. You could buy a small Kia Picanto, which probably has the same interior dimensions and feel as the Technium Eaglet. But in my opinion, and I'm a little biased, I think getting your pilot's license is one of the best investments you can make. It's going to open you up to a whole new world of opportunities and experiences that simply just can't describe to many people. Now, if you're still not sure on whether or not you want to pursue an RPC or an RPL, you can check the link in the video above where I'll break down all the steps and the processes of converting your RPC over to an RPL. It might be simpler than you think. And as always, clear skies, safe flying, and I'll see you in the next one.